Mira had always believed she understood power. Growing up as the only daughter of Daniel Hale, a man who built his tech company from a single room into a global empire, she learned early that confidence was currency and silence was strategy. Yet nothing prepared her for life inside the mansion of Adrian and Aidan Ward, two twin CEOs with identical faces and opposite souls. To the world, her marriage to them was a historic alliance, two companies merging into the biggest conglomerate in the country. Cameras flashed, journalists speculated, and publicists celebrated. It was the wedding of the year, a spectacle of gold, crystal, and immaculate perfection. But behind the elegant smiles and champagne toasts, Mira felt like a chess piece moving across a board she hadn't chosen. The twins had initiated the marriage proposal 2 months after her father's death. She remembered the day vividly, the endless board meetings, the pressure, the vulnerability. Adrian had been gentle, reassuring. Aidan had been firm, almost cold. The idea of marrying both of them, as part of their unusual shared leadership model, had stunned her. "It's symbolic," Adrian had said kindly. "It's strategic," Aidan had added bluntly. And she, drowning in grief and responsibility, had signed. In the months that followed, she lived among the wards like a ghost in designer gowns. The mansion was stunning, glass floors, towering windows, hallways quiet as a museum, but beauty did nothing to soften the loneliness. Adrian treated her with warm politeness, Aidan with distant professionalism. Meetings, dinners, charity galas, it was all duty with no intimacy. She had her own bedroom on the east wing. They occupied the west wing. Their worlds ran in parallel, never intersecting except for charity events or business occasions. Until one night, everything changed. Mira sat in her private study, surrounded by shelves of her father's old books. The fireplace crackled softly, giving life to the only warm corner of the enormous estate. She had lost track of time reading through corporate documents, not because she wanted to, but because responsibility forced her to. A soft knock interrupted her focus. Before she could respond, Adrian stepped into the room. He filled the doorway in a tailored dark suit, his expression softer than usual. His blue eyes, always calmer than his brother's, scanned her face with an unreadable look. "Mira," he said gently. "You're still working." "I'm reviewing the proposal Aidan asked me to evaluate," she replied, placing the papers aside. "I'll finish soon." He nodded, but didn't move. A moment later, another figure appeared behind him. Aidan. The contrast between them was immediate. Where Adrian was warm, Aidan was ice. His posture was straight, his expression measured, his voice always carrying a quiet authority that tolerated neither questions nor hesitation. "Mira," Aidan said, "we need a moment." She felt a prickle of unease. The last time they came to her together had been on the wedding day. "What's wrong?" she asked. Adrian exchanged a quick look with his twin before stepping inside and closing the door behind them. The sound echoed in the quiet room. Aidan moved closer, hands in his pockets, chin slightly lifted, a familiar pose of dominance. "We've been discussing the state of our marriage," he began. Her pulse quickened. Adrian shifted uncomfortably, but didn't interrupt. Aidan continued, tone even. "It's time we moved past formalities." Mira stared at him, unsure where this was going. Then Adrian spoke, voice lower, almost apologetic. "We think it's best if you join us tonight." The world froze. The fireplace crackled, the clock ticked, but Mira couldn't hear anything except the heavy silence that followed those words. Her throat went dry. "What do you mean?" she whispered, though she already knew. Aidan's gaze didn't waver. "You know what we mean. We've given space. We've been patient. But this distance isn't working for the household or the partnership." Adrian added softly, "It's been months, Mira. We agreed we'd eventually build something real." There was no threat in his tone. But in Aidan's, there was expectation, and authority, and a calm assumption that she would simply say yes. "You'll join us," Aidan said again. Not a question, a decision. Something inside Mira snapped. All the months of silent tears, of swallowing her voice, of being treated like a signature on a contract, not a woman, not a partner, not a human, converged into a single moment of clarity. She stood slowly, her chair scraping softly against the wooden floor. The twins straightened, surprised by her sudden movement. "No," she said. The word was small, but it struck like thunder. Adrian blinked, taken aback. Aidan's jaw tightened. "What did you say?" Aidan asked quietly. Mira met his gaze, not with fear, but with fire. "I said no." Adrian stepped forward slightly. "Mira, we're not trying to force." "Yes, you are," she cut him off. You show up together in my private space, you decide my place in this marriage without asking me, and you tell me to join you like I'm a function of your partnership. Aiden bristled. You're speaking emotionally. No, she said firmly. For the first time, I'm speaking honestly. The twins exchanged a stunned look. You want intimacy, she continued, voice trembling but strong. You want closeness. Then stop treating me like an accessory to your empire. Stop making decisions about my body, my presence, my role, without ever asking what I want. Adrian swallowed. Aiden's eyes darkened with something unreadable. Mira stepped closer to them, chin lifted. I am not a contract. I am not a merger. I am not a symbol of your united leadership. Her voice dropped, steady and sharp. I am your wife, and I will not join either of you until you learn to treat me like one. Aiden opened his mouth, then closed it, as if every response he rehearsed his whole life suddenly felt wrong. Adrian looked almost guilty. Mira, we didn't realize. You didn't want to realize, she corrected. Because realizing would mean acknowledging that you've been comfortable while I've been suffocating. Silence suffocated the room. Finally, she stepped back, gathering her composure. The next move is mine, she whispered. Not yours. Without waiting for a response, she walked past them, her dress gliding like a quiet storm. The door clicked shut behind her. Adrian exhaled shakily. Aiden stared at the door as if the entire foundation beneath him had shifted. For twin CEOs used to control, negotiation, and power, the possibility of losing her was something they had never considered. But now, for the first time, they feared it. The next morning arrived quietly, as if the mansion itself were afraid to breathe. Sunlight streamed through the towering glass windows, casting long golden lines across the marble floor. Usually, the Ward estate buzzed with staff movement, distant meetings, and the sound of Adrian's early phone calls or Aiden's crisp footsteps echoing through the hallways. But today, there was nothing. The silence was heavy, different, filled with the echo of Myra's words from the night before. She woke early, not because she rested well, but because strength had a way of lighting its own fire. Her pulse still trembled when she remembered the stunned, unprepared expressions on their faces. Adrian's softness cracked, Aiden's authority disrupted. For once, they didn't know what to say. And for once, she didn't apologize. Mira dressed slowly, choosing a simple satin blouse and tailored trousers instead of the dramatic designer gowns the mansion staff always laid out for her. Today wasn't about image, it was about reclaiming space, her own space. She walked into the dining hall expecting tension. But nothing prepared her for what she saw. Adrian was already there. He sat at the end of the long table, hands wrapped around a cup of untouched coffee. His suit jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly disheveled, a rare sight for a man who usually looked as though he stepped straight out of a magazine cover. He looked up the moment she entered. Mira, he said softly. She paused. Good morning. Is it? He asked with a tired smile. I wasn't sure. She took her seat but didn't touch the breakfast prepared before her. Adrian watched her with a mixture of guilt and curiosity, as if seeing her for the first time. Mira, he began, voice gentle, about last night. I meant every word, she interrupted without hesitation. He nodded, not offended, not defensive, just thoughtful. I know, he said quietly. And you were right. Her heartbeat stumbled. She didn't expect that. Before she could respond, the doors to the dining hall opened sharply. Aiden walked in. His presence always carried a different weight, sharp, precise, commanding. Today, though, something was different. His suit was immaculate as usual, but the stiffness in his shoulders was gone. His expression wasn't cold, it was unreadable, controlled, but softer around the edges. He didn't sit. He stood across from her, studying her face like someone attempting to understand a language he never bothered learning before. You surprised us, Aiden said. Mira raised an eyebrow. Because I didn't obey. Aiden exhaled, not irritated, but acknowledging. He didn't deny it. Adrian rubbed the back of his neck. We didn't realize how distant things had become. You've been quiet since the wedding, and we assumed. That silence was acceptance. She finished. Adrian lowered his gaze. Aiden's jaw flexed. We expected cooperation. Mira met his eyes directly. And you got obedience instead. That's not the same thing. Something shifted in Aiden's expression, a flicker, brief but unmistakable. Realization, she continued, voice steady. When you told me to join you last night, it wasn't a request. It was a command, and you both expected me to nod because that's what I've done since the merger. Aiden's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, in thought. Adrian leaned forward. Then tell us what you want. Mira inhaled slowly. I want respect. I want to be included. I want you to talk to me, not at me. I want partnership, not possession. Her voice trembled, just a little. I want my voice to matter. The twins exchanged a glance. This time, a silent conversation passed between them, but not one built on authority or strategy. It was something else entirely. Compromise, awareness, admitting fault. Adrian spoke first, his tone soft with sincerity. We failed you. Mira froze. She did not expect those words. Not from him, and certainly not from Aiden, who usually treated apology like a foreign concept. But Aiden surprised her. You're right, he said quietly. We handled this wrong. He looked away briefly, as if the admission cost him something. We were building a structure, not a relationship. Her breath caught. For a moment, none of them moved. Then Mira stood, slow, deliberate. The brothers immediately straightened, as if her movement alone set the pace of the room. You want an answer? She asked softly. Adrian swallowed. Aiden's posture tightened. Both waited. She walked toward them, stopping just close enough for her words to hit with precision. My answer is this. I will join you when this marriage becomes a choice, not a duty. When you show me I'm wanted as a woman, not as a symbol. When I feel safe, respected, and equal. Aiden's throat worked as he swallowed. And if we try, truly try. Mira held his gaze without blinking. Then you won't need to summon me, she whispered. I'll come to you myself. The air crackled, a subtle but powerful shift neither man could hide. Adrian reached out slightly, stopping just short of touching her hand. Mira, he said softly, help us understand. Tell us the boundaries. Tell us what you need. We'll meet you there. Aiden nodded once, his voice lower than she had ever heard. We want you, not because of the contract. Because you've become part of this family, and we didn't realize until last night how close we were to losing you. Her eyes softened. This honesty, this vulnerability, this willingness to listen, she had never expected from them. But it wasn't enough yet. Not for a lifetime, so she took a breath and began outlining everything she had held inside for months. Communication, choice, privacy, respect. No more decisions without her. No more summoning, no more assumptions. And to her astonishment, they listened. They truly listened. Adrian nodded thoughtfully. Aiden didn't interrupt once. Two men who commanded boardrooms across the world stood silent as their wife rebuilt the ground beneath their marriage. When she finished, Aiden spoke first. We'll earn your trust, Adrian added, and your choice. For the first time since the wedding, Mira felt something shift inside her, not fear, not resentment, but possibility. As she turned to leave the room, an unexpected thing happened. Aiden stepped aside to let her pass. Adrian moved behind her, not to control, but to support. Not because she was their wife, but because they finally understood her worth. And from that day forward, the Ward mansion felt different. Not because the brothers had changed everything yet, but because Mira had changed them, and they were willing to follow.